White House.
One-stop shop where anyone in America can find what they need to navigate the virus. Free vaccines and boosters, free at-home tests, high-quality masks, and for the latest information about the level of COVID-19 spread in your community, you can get that immediately. Now, you'll also be able to find our new Test to Treat locations, which I announced in my State of the Union address. These are pharmacies and other places in your neighborhood where you can get tested, and if you're positive, you can get life-saving treatments all in one stop. We've already stood up 2,000 test and treat sites across the country. We have nearly 200 sites just to serve military families and veterans communities as well. We've done what we've done throughout the pandemic. We've ensured these locations are the hardest hit, hardest to reach communities as well. The bottom line, no longer will Americans have to scour the internet to find vaccines, treatments, tests, or masks. It's all there. And just go visit covid.gov, covid.gov. And let me remind you, when I took office about 14 months ago, the pandemic was raging, the economy was reeling, and the deficit was soaring. Most schools were closed. We didn't have enough vaccines. The unemployment claims were sky high. And then we got to work and we delivered. Enough vaccines for every American months ahead of schedule. Effective treatments, at-home tests that are free and accessible. Over 99% of our schools are open again. Businesses are open again. And because of how we responded, we created more jobs last year than ever before, 6.7 million jobs. And by the way, we did it while cutting the deficit, the largest one-year deficit reduction in American history. Say that again, the largest one-year deficit reduction in American history. But none of that happened by accident. We're able to do it because we coordinated across the government, partner with state and local leaders, governors on both sides of the aisle, and the private sector to leverage every resource we had to fight against this virus. We left no stone unturned, and we were able to do it because Congress worked with us and provided us the necessary funding. But now, just as we've reached the critical turning point in this fight, Congress has to provide the funding America needs to continue to fight COVID-19. Well, we're already seeing the consequences of congressional inaction. The monoclonal antibody, take monoclonal antibodies, for example. They've helped save lives. This isn't partisan, it's medicine. But Congress hasn't provided enough money to keep purchasing these monoclonal antibodies. We've had to cancel planned orders and cut the supply we're sending to the states. Without more funding, we'll start to run out of them by the end of May. The end of May. We've also had to scale back our plan to purchase more preventive therapies for Americans who are immunocompromised. Critical tools to protect the most vulnerable among us. Without more funding, we risk running out of the supply by this fall. The same is true of testing. It took months to ramp up our testing capacity. The Omicron, we saw how vital, and with Omicron, we saw how vital it was. And we have enough tests on hand to weather the surge. But without funding, we're not going to be able to sustain the testing capacity beyond the month of June. And if we fail to invest, we leave ourselves vulnerable if another wave of the virus hits. Look, on vaccines, and most important tool in this fight, we're also running a risk. Yesterday, the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, and the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, authorized the fourth shot for those 50 years and older. We know boosters are critical to providing an additional level of protection. That's why I plan to get my second booster today, right here after I'm done speaking. If you haven't gotten your first booster, please don't wait. Do it today. Those who are 50 and older, as well as those who are immunocompromised, can now get even more protection than they have from the initial first doses. We have enough supply to give booster shots to those newly eligible individuals. But if Congress fails to act, we won't have the supply we need this fall to ensure the shots are available free, easily accessible for all Americans. Even worse, if we need a different vaccine for the future to combat a new variant, we're not going to have enough money to purchase it. We cannot allow that to happen. Congress, we need to secure additional supply now. Now. We can't wait until we find ourselves in the midst of another surge to act. It'll be too late. And we also need this funding to continue our efforts to vaccinate the world with commitments we made. It's critical to our ability to protect against new variants. There's no wall you can build high enough to keep out a virus. Congress needs to act now, please. Let me close with this. I've worked so hard to get our lives, all of us have worked so hard to get our lives back. We're summoning every ounce of American resilience, pulled every lever of our government, called upon the goodness, decency, and patriotism of American people. Together, we turned an unthinkable pain into an extraordinary progress and purpose. Americans are back to living their lives again. We can't surrender that now. Congress, please act. You have to act immediately. The consequences of inaction are severe. They'll only grow with time, but it doesn't have to be that way. We've proven what we can do when we work together. So I urge Democrats and Republicans to get this done with urgency. Let's stand united. Let's continue to pull together. Let's get this done. Thank you, and God bless you all, and may God protect our troops, and I'm going to get my second booster shot. I'm not sure why I'm doing it on stage, but I have to do it again.
Mr. President, what is the danger of Putin being left in the dark by his military advisors?
I'm reluctant to comment.
Can you comment on the declassified intelligence that he doesn't trust his military leadership since it is declassified?
No, I can't.
Well, the president will provide security guarantees to Ukraine as part of peace talks.
Doing great.
Is the U.S. willing to provide security guarantees to Ukraine as part of peace talks?
All right.
Mr. President, are you going to extend Title 42?
We'll have a decision on that soon.
What did President Zelensky tell you about the...
Recent four countries of vaccination will impact the fight against COVID here.
What did President Zelensky tell you about...
Somebody asked me about the vaccine.
Mr. President, what did you hear from President Zelensky today about negotiations?
I've always thought that it discourages people getting the vaccination when they watch people get a needle in their arm. So I apologize for discouraging them. It didn't hurt a bit, and I was able to roll my sleeve up, and thank you all for
Can you meet with Trevor parents, Mr. President, while they're here in Washington? They say that you promised them a meeting.
I'm going to see if I can get to see them.
Today?
They're good people. We're trying to work that out. Thank you.
What did President Zelensky tell you? What did President Zelensky tell you about negotiations?
So that's what you call a captive audience. The president really can't go anywhere while he's getting a vaccine. And so the assembled press pool there shouts questions at him. The only substantive answer they got to anything was, will you suspend Title 42? He said a decision on that will be coming soon. He's also appealing to Congress for more money, for boosters, for new vaccines, for new variants, as well as other therapeutics. But they're the president getting his second booster, and the FDA saying people over the age of 50 and those who are immunocompromised can do the same thing, but they never washed it through the vaccine advisory panel.
That's why we have Dr. Mark Siegel here. John, thank you very much. There's so much to take in from what we just saw there and the way the president is approaching this. I mean, you can take on the money angle, too. Asking for more money after the astronomical amounts of money that have been put forth for COVID measures, some of which have been poorly spent or not spent at all. But to the president getting his shot and now pushing the fourth on those over 50 as it's been approved by the CDC. First, your thoughts on, are you getting the fourth one, Dr. Siegel?
I'm going to answer that, but let's start with the president. I was watching to see if he would swoon, and I think John was watching this too. Would he swoon and actually stumble and answer a Zelensky question while he was getting the shot? No. He actually held court on that. He's 79 years old. He has atrial fibrillation, which is a form of heart disease. I'm all for him getting the fourth booster. He's encountering a lot of people who are testing positive, and he should have the fourth booster. But the message he didn't send, because again, and you noticed this, we were watching this, Sandra, he was talking down to people. I don't want everybody over the age of 50 getting the shot. I haven't gotten it yet. I'm on the front lines. I'm taking care of patients all day long, but there's not a lot of COVID in New York City. I'm watching this. I want to see what the numbers of the virus are around. I'm watching my own spike antibody protein to see how much protection I may have. I don't have a lot of underlying medical problems. I'm not going to reveal that all on camera, but I've decided to hold off, much as Marty McCary has, who talked about
on the program yesterday.
On the program yesterday. But if the numbers start going up, or if I start traveling more, then I might take it. The other reason I'm holding off is that the FDA at sometime in April is going to come out in early April and give us other options. Is it going to be the Novavax shot? Is it going to be a vaccine tailored more towards Omicron? We don't know yet. But I'm waiting to see that too.
So if someone's listening right now and you know they were more than willing to go out and get their vaccines, including their third shot in the case of Pfizer, their booster shot, and they see this and they're over the age of 50 and they say, I don't know, they're on the fence, should I go get it? They're a healthy person. So you're saying
here's what I'm saying. Over 50, for sure, get your third shot, because that's been shown to decrease severity and hospitalization. Fourth shot, I want to know, are you immunocompromised? What are your blood tests show? Are you obese? Do you have a lot of medical problems? And I'm more comfortable saying over 60. I would probably go for it. 50, the point of that, and he didn't make it. Over 50, the point is to make it available so a doctor like me can advise and get it for them easily. Not that everybody should get it over 50, but have it available for high-risk groups.
All right, so they also announced and unveiled this COVID.gov website. You heard the president just talk about it a moment ago. He says it's designed to be this one-stop shop for COVID resources, including vaccines, tests, and masks. I don't know. Where does this leave us, broadly speaking, in this pandemic, Dr. Siegel?
I think there's been too much confusion. I think there's too much politicians giving messages like mandate, vaccine, not talking about immunity after infection, natural immunity. That's been left out of the equation. Back and forth on masks. You don't have to wear a mask if you're Kyrie Irving, but you do have to wear a mask on a plane still. There's a lot of back and forth confusion, and the most important thing, and this is something to emphasize, is I want scientists to wake up one morning and say, the news today is different than the day yesterday, so I'm changing my tune. There's not enough of that. There's always my way or the highway. When the science changes, change along with the science. Right now, thank God, we're at a time of very low COVID, so that's how we should be talking. We should be talking like that. We're in a reprieve. And if you want people to follow you later, if we get another variant, the way is to change your tone. And Sandra, you made that point. He didn't change his tone, the president.
That really struck you.
The same tone that he used months ago.
Because what's the better way to do it? If you are somebody who's compromised, you're over the age of 50 or over the age of 60, as you're suggesting, and you believe they should go get the shot, how do you address that group of people? What are you saying?
I want to know what their reservations are first. I don't tell, I ask. Why don't you want the shot? What are you afraid of? What have you hesitated for? And invariably, that leads to a discussion that sometimes leads to the shot. Primary care doctors like me have been giving shots forever, and that's how we do it.
Good stuff. Dr. Siegel, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Sandra.
Okay, John.
Hey, we should mention just before we go to the tease here, the president said a decision would be made soon about rescinding Title 42. According to Reuters, the U.S. is planning to end Title 42 by May the 23rd. So we'll look more into that coming up. New at 2.